think the last thing that we can talk about, and I don't have it as a topic, but you threw it out there, and it's something that we've brought up multiple times throughout our shows together this year. Is what we saw today more of a trend of what we're going to see going forward, or is this a blip on the radar? So early on, it was they're losing to bad teams. Is that a trend or is that a blip? And you've talked a lot about the offense and how they haven't put together a complete game or two good halves in a long time. Now, they were able to do that today, but how much of that has to do with the Panthers, or is the offense starting to put it together? If you look at how they parlayed from last game into this game, do you feel like this team is starting to really put things together, or do you think this is more of a blip on the radar and we're going to have a lot of ups and downs this season?
Yeah, it's funny to me because it's funny that it may be more irony that this happened against the Carolina Panthers, because this team is very similar to the Carolina Panthers in the sense that without like the explosive defense. I think that the 49ers would look very similar to the Carolina Panthers if they had a middle of the pack defense, because of how inconsistent this offense is. Because a middle of the pack defense now has more strain on themselves because the offense can never bail them out. And that's what really happened in this game, is the offense was so inept because of how bad their offense is, and also a combination of how good our defense is. And then the stress goes on the defense, where eventually they're just going to get gassed out and going to be gashed for big plays, right? Think about the type of plays that were the most explosive for the 49ers. Most of them were blown tackles, right, Jesse? And usually blown tackles are a sign of what? Fatigue, whether it be mental or physical. And that, I think, is more what played into this offense being as good as they were, versus whether or not this is going to be consistently the way that they look game after game. Because I still don't have faith in this offense till we see it. There's we're always looking for numbers and factors of what can kind of indicate where where we could see 49er victories. And I did some research over the last 2 years, Jesse, when the 49ers have been able to score at least 14 points in the first half. Their record is 9-1.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? And what is something that I always mention to you? If the 49ers have scored at least 14, and this was before I did the research, I was just like, my feelings over facts. If the 49ers score at least 2 touchdowns in the first half, they're going to win the game. Like, that's been kind of my mantra throughout. And then I went back and I looked, they've only lost one time when that's ever happened in the last 2 years. So it's important if this offense can score at least 2 touchdowns in the first half, or in this game, they got the touchdown from the defense as well. But if this defense is playing with the lead going into the second half, a substantial lead, the chances of the 49ers winning are immense. Now, can the 49ers offense be good enough to stay consistent in the first half of games? We haven't seen that yet, Jesse. So until we see it consistently, and I would need to see it maybe like four games in a row before we could say, all right, now it's that way. Then maybe things could change. But it has been 2 games, so props to them for doing it 2 games in a row. But we need 2 more games, and then I'll be more confident. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. But really, to me, it's been a game. We saw them start out good last week, whatever. But this is the first complete game offensively they've had all season. They only put up 17 points last week. It's not like they put up a ton of points offensively.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first week they've really put it all together. Now, the Panthers have a decent defense, but they're without a starting linebacker, both their starting safeties, and in the fourth quarter, they lost their best cover corner. So they were pretty depleted on defense, much like when the 49ers lost Bosa. All of a sudden, the Panthers started moving the ball pretty good. Interesting how that works out. So we'll see how this plays out. I do think they can figure it out. I'm not in panic mode by any sense of the imagination. However, we talked about the injuries. We talked about the defense and how we expect them to take maybe a backslide especially as they start playing some of these high-powered offenses. The offense has to step up. This 17 points scoring in a game is not going to cut it. They're going to have to put together some games where they get 3 touchdowns and a field goal. They're going to have to do a little bit more on a consistent basis. And sometimes it's not even necessarily that they're playing a good defense, but they're going to have to continually score just because they may be in a shootout. And our defense, with injuries or what have you, cannot make the stops that we're used to them seeing. So we're going to see how this whole thing plays out. But overall, it feels great to get a freaking win. It absolutely feels great. I'm happy that we're talking about a win for the second week in a row. And that's all that we can hope for. It's a week-to-week game. Next week, I think, is going to be a little bit tougher than what people think. The Falcons are playing teams extremely close. They are not getting out of any of these games. They almost really should have came back and beat Tampa, but we're going to talk about that through the week. I know that you're gone for the week. It sounds like do you leave Tuesday, Sunil?
Yeah, I'm leaving Tuesday. And just to mention why people should look at this Atlanta game as a trap game. Mm-hmm. The 49ers have played 2 mobile quarterbacks this season. How has that record gone? 0-2.
It's backwards. It's mirrored in the
0-2, right? So yep. The 49ers' Achilles heel is still a mobile quarterback, and Marcus Mariota is more known for his legs than his arm. So definitely, and without Bosa there to keep one edge going, and Mosley who really helps out as far as his tackling ability, with him going to be gone as well, it's going to be a tough night out for the 49ers. So definitely a trap game. I don't think they should go in overconfident. This is one of those games that, the 49ers could easily lose if, the offense is sputtering and they force the defense to just make play after play after play.
Yeah, and 100%, I want to say this as well. Mike brings up a great point. We have played 5 lifeless teams and come out of it 3-2. The 49ers have not beaten a team with a winning record yet. Not a single one. So, in fact, they've lost to 2 teams with losing records. So, right. The 49ers haven't looked great by any means. What's up, Black Cat Panther podcast? He and I did our podcast on Wednesday where he broke down the Panther side of things. Sorry, man. Baker Mayfield's buns. Matt Rule is atrocious. I feel for you guys over in Pantherland, but you might get your future quarterback in this draft. But I appreciate you, Dub Q, for coming on Wednesday. That was a great show. People loved you, and we will have to do it in the future. Sunil, thank you so much for joining me for the post game. Everybody that tapped in, I will be back at the latest on Tuesday, not with Sunil because he'll be out of town. Appreciate y'all. Have a blessed night and enjoy the Sunday night game. Peace.